Hello, everybody. Today we are going to create this Christmas tree layout from the Creative Memories blog. It's featured on the front page of the Q4 sketchbook, which is available for free on my website. You just have to add it to your cart when you check out. It is shown by advisor Melissa Ullman using the Christmas Charm collection. And I will be using that collection today also, but this would be a fun one you could use with any Christmas collection you've had in the past, or perhaps you just want to use a winter collection and have winter trees. I have created a handout that is available for free download on my website. So you can just go to teslascrapbooks.com and download the website. I did take the blog instructions and rewrote them a little bit for simplicity for the way that I think about the project. It's actually pretty simple. It looks complicated. With a little bit of prep work, it will go pretty fast. So before you begin, you will need some sort of base paper. I have a bright white piece of cardstock. You'll also want to pre-cut your mat. So these are instructions, basically step 2, 3, and 4, the pieces of the tree. We also have some photo mats. You'll need this sheet of the yellow stripes paper or some contrasting color different from the papers that you're going to use from your trees. So in step 1 of the layout, we are cutting this 12 by 8 piece of yellow stripes. I went ahead and cut mine because I used part of this, the back of this is a print that I used for one of my trees. So if you do use the same sheet, when you cut the trees, you want to make sure that you cut your trees so that they are vertical to take your piece. You need those vertical trees for one of the mats if you choose that for your mat. The diagonals for the yellow can go any direction, so that will work. Then when we create our trees, you're going to have 3 sizes of trees, and then we're going to cut 3 of each size, and then we have to have a little bit of an adjustment to cut the avocado for the base mat. So your first set of trees, and they talk about them from order from left to right. So I don't want to confuse you. I need to get mine in order of the way that they're going to show on the layout. So in step number 2, we are creating trees using 3.5 by 5.5 inch mats. So choose your pieces. I did not exactly choose the ones that they show on the layout. I had leftovers from the class that we did. I didn't want to cut into full sheets or open a new pack. When you choose your papers, you want to make sure that you have some contrast between layers. The ones that you have to be careful with are the ones that have white, because white against a white print, you kind of lose some of that contrast. You want to make sure that you can see the differentiation of layers. So you're going to cut 3.5 by 5.5 inch pieces of paper for that. We're going to talk about the avocado at the end. For the middle trees, in step number 3, we're using 4 by 6 mats. So again, we're going to cut 3 4 by 6 mats to have available for those. And then the far right tree, the one on step number 4, we are using 3 by 5. I do have 4 pieces here. I went ahead and cut print, and then shown on here they have a red, and so I'm going to kind of make a game time decision if I want to use a piece of red cardstock because I don't have that red paper, or if I want to use the ornaments paper again on front. So I have an extra just in case. So those are 3 by 5. So one more time, 3.5 by 5.5, 4 by 6, 3 by 5. And then when we cut our pieces for the base on the avocado, we're basically adding a 1/4 inch to each side. So the piece of avocado for tree number 1 is 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. The mat for the 4 by 6 are 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And then the mats for the 3 by 5s are 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. And those are out of avocado. So once you have this work done, the prep work, the layout actually will go pretty quickly. You will need a pencil and your 12-inch trimmer. You'll want to have the handout ready, or just make a note if you don't have it yet on your sketchbook of the measurements to mark these in between. So you do need a ruler or your cutting mat, whichever one that you want to choose. So you do need to know the order that you want these pieces to lay on the page. We are going to start. You can actually, you can cut any of them first. We're going to cut the trees first. Then we have to trim down so that they're layers. So it's probably easiest if we cut them all the same way. So you're going to want to have your pencil and you're going to want to have a mat or a ruler. On the back of each piece, these are the 3.5 by 5.5. We're going to make a pencil mark at 1 3/4. So 1 3/4, and just need a mark along the top that's obvious enough for me to see, so we can make our trees. Triangles. This is the step you do not want to rush. If you do cut it wrong, it'll be fine. You can always layer them. I've marked these 3 at the halfway mark, so I can go ahead and cut my triangle. So on the back of it, you're going to have your pencil mark, which you want to line up on the cutting line of your trimmer mat, and then the bottom point on the dotted line. One note, if your trimmer is like mine, you might not actually cut straight down that dotted line. My groove from my trimmer mark is a little bit to the right of it, the where this sits. So you actually want to make sure you're lining up with your groove mark if your mat is pretty used, so that you know you're cutting down to the corner. Then we're going to trim that off. These are extra pieces, but you could easily make some partial Christmas trees. You might want to hold on to those. Once we cut this, we're going to swing it over. The top is still in the same line. We're going to put the left corner on the cutting mat. Sometimes it slips. It slips for me too. I have found it's easier to keep the blade housing in the middle. I have my arm down. I can still manipulate my paper and have it lined up, but I don't have to swing this around. It just holds it in place better. You can also use a little bit of repo tape if you need to, but I found if I just put the arm down first, it's good to go. So we're going to move through all 3 pieces. I usually get myself pretty close, then get the arm down, and then do my final little tweak. Again, this is not the step to rush. Swing it over, cut the other corner. And repeat for the third. Now, once you have your 3 pieces, they're all the same size triangle. Again, put them in the order that you want them to stack. We're not going to touch the base one, the one that's on the bottom, but we're going to take the middle one and we need to cut off 1/2 inch. This is the middle layer. We're going to line up the right side of the triangle along this long 1/2 inch line, straight line. That is 1/2 inch. Cut that off. And the piece that will be our top layer, we're going to cut off 1 inch. This is the darker line. Our 1 inch line is a little bit darker here on the trimmer. And then we could adhere these 3 together. You can use repo tape or regular tape. You want to get that little point. That's why I like to use repo. generous with your tape on this one. Sometimes I tell you to save your tape, you don't use too much, but we do want to make sure that these are going to hold where they need to hold. I usually, to conserve tape, will take my tip, I'll put it somewhere it's going to be hidden to do my point off the end. That gives me my first tree. So we just have to repeat this all the way around. If I want to go ahead and cut my avocado, remember this piece is 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. The middle of 3 3/4 is 1 5/8. We're going to mark this at 1 5/8. On the cutting mat, the way that it's easiest for me is remember that a 1/2 inch is 4/8, and so we're just going to go one line beyond that because our cutting mat does not have 16ths, so the 8ths are the smaller ones. But that does not look like it's in the middle, so then I need to double check myself. Let me read my writing again. It's 7/8. Okay, so scratch that. This is 7/8. I looked at the wrong line. That is kind of the final check, is to make sure you're in the middle. So we went 7/8. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's one line before the 2. So that should look like the middle to you. Of course, you can also use a 0 ruler. And again, we're cutting from the middle down to the corners. Then we can adhere the whole tree centered in this piece of avocado. Bottom of your tree can be covered by a sticker. So if your lines aren't completely straight, it's really fine. It will be covered up. And I put mine flush down here along the bottom. You're going to see about 1/8 of an inch up each side of the tree. Very good. Good job. Now we're going to move on to our second stack. Again, kind of, think about the order that you want them. You're going to make your pencil mark on the back. These are easy because they're 4 inches. The midway point is 2. Circle 3. Repeat our corner cuts. There's so many versions out there of Christmas trees I've seen along the years. It is fun every year to find a new way to make some trees. Confirm your order of 3. The top one, the base one, is we're not changing. The middle one, we're going to cut off 1/2 inch. And the top layer, we're going to cut off 1 inch. Before you switch to your tape, if you want to go ahead and do your base layer, this one is 4 1/4. So we're going to mark it at 2 1/8. Now we can adhere all our pieces together. You can either go from the bottom up or the top down. I really liked this Christmas charm collection. I would say that my favorite overall has been Merry Little Christmas. I did like Joy to the World. It grew on me. And Season's Greetings is fine also, but I really like the combinations in this one with the different green tones, the different red tones. I can see the edge of that white color popping through, so I'm going to adjust this top layer. I don't want to see the white, it just draws attention down the edge. Probably could have found that a little bit more centered on avocado too. Remember, it's just about 1/8 of an inch, so it's not much, but this is why we use repo tape, so I could fuss over it. And then our last set, which is 3 by 5. So the halfway mark for these is 1 1/2. I have to choose. I need to choose which one I want on top. It's going to sit over here. I feel like the ornaments is going to look a little busy. I think I am going to go with the red. Maybe 1 1/2. And then we'll cut our, you know the drill. We got to cut down our triangles. One more. I had a team meeting this week, and one of the little activities they had is I gave all the Christmas collections since Creative Memories relaunched out of bankruptcy and to see if they could put them in order. And Megan was pretty close. Of course, Christmas Charm this year. Last year was Christmas Cheer. We had Seasonal Sightings, Joy to the World. I'd have to find my list now. Season's Greetings and Sugar Plum and Merry Little Christmas, Christmas Past, and Christmas Joy. I'm not sure I said those in the right order. I'd have to double check again. Okay, now we have to cut them down. So be confident of your layers. The base layer we're not changing. The mid layer gets 1/2 inch off. And then the red gets 1 inch off. For our avocado tree base, this is 3 1/4. So the middle of that is 1 5/8. We're going to piece these together. We have all of our trees. So now it's time to assemble our layout. We have our base paper, which is, I used a bright white. We have the 12 by 8 piece of yellow diagonal stripes that we're going to adhere along the top. Here are trees. The middle one is going to be on the bottom, and then the top two are going to be on each side. They do suggest you can use foam tape or foam squares if you want to have a little bit of pop. I do not. I already have, 4, 5, 6 layers of paper under some of these. Uh, That is enough for me in my book. So just kind of get an eyeball of where you want the trees to place. Figure out the middle one first. If you need an eyeball measurement, you can kind of look up and see which line you're pointing to. Put some real tape there, and then I'm going to put some repo tape on the tip. I'll move it just a little bit. If you did use a little bit of foam, it would actually maybe level out some of that bulkiness from the layering. You could spread these out however far you want. You're really just trying to make sure you have room for a photo over here of some sort. They have a mat that is 3 3/4. I don't often have photos that small, so I chose one that was a little bit bigger, but it looks like I have plenty of room for it. But it does keep my edges here pretty close. Now it's time for the border stickers. We're going to use the red one along the top. I will note I did powder these with this during Christmas charm class because I was debating using these and I wanted to be able to move it around. I did not end up using them, but I've already powdered away the adhesive. So I do have to add adhesive to mine, but your fresh stickers will not require that. I'm going to adhere this along the top. It was perfect because I didn't use them. And so now I have them left over, which the two I had left over are the ones that they used for this layout. And then they use the mistletoe or the holly. They adhere it so the holly leaves are pointing up. Now, this is what will cover that very bottom layer. Again, this over here is a little high. You know, I should consider maybe adding a little bit of foam under there to just keep it a little bit level. Oh, yeah, it's kind of big. A variety foam squares have a variety of sizes, so you can choose the one that fits best. So that keeps it about the same level as over here. I still feel like I need to stick a couple in there. Really needed to along the whole row, I think. It's not that I don't like the layered foam squares, but my books end up so thick. I add a lot of thickness with peekaboo pockets that I don't need to add any decorative layering beyond what's required. But that does give it a little bit of height to match how high these are because of the paper layers. So for mats that they show along the bottom, they have, like I said, 3 3/4 squares. This one looks to be a little big. One of those sides got cut wrong. Three and 3/4. That is 3 3/4. And that is 3 3/4. Okay, one of these is. I gotta figure out where I went wrong. I think I cut these wrong. Those are 3.5. That's why you can see a little bit extra of the white. So you can fit 3 3/4 if you want to. I'm going down to 3.5 because I messed up the other two, obviously. And then up here, this was a larger piece of avocado that I had left, so I can fit more like a 4x5 photo up there. So then for the final decoration, we'll pull out our stickers. These are not square. I think that's the problem. They are 3.5 tall, and they are closer to 3 3/4 wide. It's fine. I might replace that one later. White feels like it's glaring to me off the edge, but once I have photos on here, it might be fine. Or I could shift all these over to center it. For stickers, they show the sleigh, which I thought was super cute, along the trees. Just double checking how they have theirs on here. It looks like they have it tucked behind the holly. Could go above or below. And then they use holiday memories. Have the holiday picked pretty close underneath it, so it actually is going behind it slightly. And then the H and the M are kind of staggered, and it staggers the Y and the S. And then we can find our stars to put on top of the trees. I have the big red one in the middle. The green ones on the edges. Gorgeous. And then the final for the journaling, obviously I'm not ready to journal yet, but when you are, you notice that they used the write-on stickers, which you have by Creative Memories. And they are little journaling strips. They have skinny ones and they have thicker ones. So you can write as little or as much as you want. Just make sure it's not longer than you have space for. So I can write whatever I want to write for one line. I can pull it up, trim it, and then paste it there. And you can have several of them. So you can write, a little paragraph where you want. But that way you don't have to have a journaling box. You don't have to have more than desired for the writing, just enough for what you need. And then once you have your photos on here, they do show like the bell, but it overlaps the photo, so you can't put that onto your done. I might move this a little bit closer to my tree. You put your journaling, one of your accent stickers up there. So the cute little holiday layout ready for your Christmas photos. So I hope you enjoy making these trees. Thanks for joining me this afternoon.